Good morning, all. Hope you're all well out there. We are live today, Wednesday, the 23rd of April. You can tell it's raining outside because the cats come in. It's a little damp, but otherwise fine. Today, we are talking about the BNR update for Commander that happened last night, and also some changes to the bracket lists, the bracket system for organising and building your decks. So we've had 5 cards unbanned, no cards banned. I think that's kind of what everyone... I don't think anyone was expecting any additional bans. But 5 cards added. We'll go through them all today, and we'll kind of go through the article giving Wizards reasons for it, and then we'll give our thoughts about it. So, announcement. This happened last night. Gifts Ungiven is unbanned. Sway of the Stars is unbanned. Braid's Cabal Minion is unbanned. That's a spicy one. Coalition Victory is unbanned, and Panoptic Mirror are all unbanned in Commander. I'll jump ahead to a bit later in the article, but all of these are immediately going onto the Game Changer bracket list. So if a card gets unbanned, it goes onto the Game Changer list, and so it's not just running around in the most casuals of tables. These are still strong cards, or miserable cards. Let's go over them. So, their main reasons for kind of unbanning cards it's partly power level. It's partly because just time has gone on. Some of these cards aren't as strong as they were when they went on the list. Let's go over the reasons for the individual unbannings, see what we think of them. So first up is Gifts Ungiven. This is 3 in a blue. For an instant, search your library for up to 4 cards with different names and reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards, put those cards into your graveyard and the rest into your hand, then shuffle. So, Gifts Ungiven is a very strong Magic card. We'll go over the reasons Gavin's given for the unbanning. So this is a beloved card with a great history. Many of you out there enjoyed casting this card in all sorts of formats. We're excited for it to return to Commander. The previous concern had been the nature of this as a power tutor, and the time-intensive casting process and the combos enabled by this card. We considered with this the structure of brackets and just regular pre-game conversations. If your deck is trying to infinite combo people with this, they should often help sort out if you are playing in the right environment. On the other hand, a fair Gifts Ungiven is very fun and akin to a fact or fiction in the politics and interplay between players it can create. So I do sort of agree with this in terms of, well, the argument of Gifts Ungiven is a very strong Magic card. The important part with this that you'll see in more competitive environments is that it says search a library for up to 4 cards. If you just want to put 2 cards into your graveyard and guarantee you're putting 2 cards into your graveyard, you can just go and tutor up only 2 cards and put them directly into your graveyard. Say there's a combo piece you want in your graveyard. Say you're doing Necrotic Ooze type stuff and you just want to put your combo bits in the graveyard, something like a Triskelion or a... Damn, I'm showing my age by saying Triskelion. Goodbye, darling. Or a... what do you call it? Walking Ballista, that kind of stuff. Like Walking Ballista Machias or something like that in the bin, and then your Necrotic Ooze gets the bonus of it. So, it'll be interesting. Of all of them, I think this is probably the strongest because it's the most just naturally playable. Some of the ones they've unbanned are more miserable than they are good Magic cards. Gifts Ungiven was banned because it was a good Magic card. So of all of them, this is the only one I could see them walking back at some point. But we have reached a world where it's 2025. Like, it's not so much this card itself that's the issue. It's what this card is getting. And there are a bunch of other tutors. Like, we'll go over when we go over the brackets updates. What we generally notice from that is that the main update to it is more tutors being added to it. So if kind of like tutors being fine, but they are all in the bracket system, then if that's kind of like the power level we're at, then Gifts Ungiven is a fine Magic card to unban and have there. Marvellous. Alright. But yeah, fortunately, Gifts Ungiven wasn't too expensive when it was unbanned. I think at the time of the unbanning, even after a bunch of cards went up in price, I think I saw this going for like, you could get one for less than £1 a lot of places. Obviously, that will go up a little bit and people will change, but it is also a card they will reprint whenever they want to as well, and it won't actually be that expensive. So that one's fine. Yeah, Gifts Given, very cool card. Is correctly in the upper tier of the bracket system. Sway the Stars is next. 8 blue for a sorcery. Each player shuffles his or her hand, graveyard, and permanents he or she owns into his or her library, then draws 7 cards. Each player's life total becomes 7. So, what does Gavin put? A 10-mana way to reset the game again to Worldfire, which was previously unbanned in Commander, to little fanfare or play. There are some players who enjoy this effect. It is an impactful card, but not very powerful. There are plenty of other spells that cost 8 or more mana that have a far higher impact than Sway. Our guess is that this will see little play, but people who enjoy these cards will like it. Will like these now they're able to play another one. So this was one of the ones that was on the ban list originally just because it was miserable. Like, this is the kind of card you don't want to see after you've played, like, you played a game of Commander for an hour. Because not only does it just kind of, like, the reset is kind of incredibly, like, it can be incredibly frustrating because effectively everything you've done up to this point didn't matter. That's kind of not the most fun play experience. Like this is on the list. Like the original Commander Rules Committee, they had cards on the list which were kind of examples of cards they didn't want people to play. There's plenty of other more miserable cards out in Magic, but they kind of put these as like examples of like they didn't have the bracket system. They kind of used it as like a signpost system of like, don't run cards like this. This card sucks. So Sway the Stars is a great example of that. I'm going to be honest with you. This is probably going to happen to me. Like I don't particularly care about this being unbanned. I'm probably going to have this happen to me ones of times in the entirety of me playing Commander, and I'm probably not going to play Commander again with the person who casts this against me, is my gut, just because I value my time. Like, if we played an out, like if you're doing something cool with this, like if your goal is cast this and then immediately have ways in the command zone of dealing 7 to someone, then yeah, sure. Cool, kill me that way. But like, I just don't... It's my main issue with cards like Cyclonic Rift, is that it just... people don't use it as like a win con. They use it as a board wipe or like effectively just like an extra turn spell. But it's just like everyone just ends up at the same point they were a few turns later. I don't care. I'm fine with Cyclonic Rift when someone uses it to win a game. I'm fine with games of Magic ending, and this is the opposite of it. So, from a power level point of view, yes, completely agree. Shouldn't be on the ban list. But from a gameplay point of view, I can't be bothered to play against this card. And my guess is it'll probably happen like this is going to happen in the wild. I can't imagine anyone in my play group being excited by Sway of Stars. But yeah, from a power level point of view, sure, unban it. Now this one, there we go. Good. I'm glad they unbanned Braid's Cabal Minion. Braid's Cabal Minion is 2 black for a 2/2 legendary creature human minion. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. So what are the reasons for banning this, or unbanning this? So this is a beloved character, and a card many are nostalgic for. When played as one of your 99 cards or later in the game, it is a totally reasonable effect with appropriate impact on the game. The most frustrating Braid games are when it's put out extremely quickly and people feel locked under it. However, as little as a single target removal spell can really set that entire plan back. As commander decks have become more and more efficient with targeted removal spells, and players have gotten better at identifying commanders they don't want to play against and having pre-game conversations, so that gives us the confidence to bring back Braids. A lot has changed since Braid was banned in 2009, and we mostly believe people will know what they're signing up for in a game with Braids as a commander. As a card in 99, it's reasonable and acceptable. I think that's all fair. Like, this is definitely a 4-mana 2/2. Doesn't have Ward? Why does it not have Ward? Come on. Or Hexproof or anything. Like, yeah, this does die to a Stiff Breeze. I guess it doesn't die to Doomblade, but that's a thing. But that isn't really a thing anymore. People are running more interaction in Commander. The days of when I started playing where you had 65 cards that that only work towards your game plan. You might have 1 or 2 bits of interaction, like 4 board wipes, or so long ago. People are running ways of doing things now. People have more interaction, so I do see Braids just as a Braids like might not survive a turn around the board, especially if it is. Braids will go into, again, if you have a Braids deck, if Braids is your commander and it's leading your deck, it will automatically be like a level 3 or tier 3 because it's because it is a game changer. So it's automatically going to be played against decks that are a similar power level. I think Braids is fun. Like lower down in the article, they do talk about, in the brackets article, we'll get onto it in a little bit. They do talk about specifically bracketing commanders or legendary creatures because it effectively changes the whole deck. I don't actually know how strong a Braids deck is going to be. I mean, we'll brew one tomorrow and see how it goes. The main thing with this, like if you are building this, it's just going to be put out as many things as possible. Put out, like Bitter Blossom kind of stuff. Like you want as many token makers in this as possible, so you're not sacrificing your lands. Because obviously that's kind of the gimmick with this is you try and get this out on turn 1 or 2, and then people, if you're just board wiping and controlling the board, that kind of stuff, people will then have to start sacrificing their mana rocks or their lands, and that's how you win. It is pure stacks. Let's build this tomorrow. Whether I ever play it is a separate conversation, but to build, I think it's fine. Again, I'm in a world where like Minsk and Boo exists. Like, what is this? Braids is fine. Let's not worry about Braids. I think Braids is an okay unban. Coalition Victory. Now this one, this is more in line with Sway the Stars, partly because of the mana cost. But let's talk about it. 3 and a Wooburg for a sorcery. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. So let's see why Gavin gave to unban it. This card engendered a great deal of discussion. A lot of it boils down to how impactful and how much of an auto-include it is. In a deck with a 5-color commander, it essentially reads, you win the game if you control your commander. That is not the most satisfying end to a game, and it does not begin to become an auto-include in many decks. Is that an appropriate card to exist? However, it can easily be interacted with. The single removal spell in response to your 5-color commander means you spent 8 mana to do nothing. You also need to untap with your commander and 8 mana, and there are many expensive spells that will do something akin to ending the game in a 5-color deck if you resolve them. Additionally, for all those engaging with commander brackets, it is within the time frame of where we expect an I win combo to fall. So I think that's fair. When they introduced the brackets, this was one of the ones that kind of everyone was expecting them to look at because it's not a good Magic card. Like it says you win the game on it, but there's plenty of other Magic cards that say you win the game that are more easily, that you can set up easier, or you're as likely to be able to resolve in a timely manner. Like on turn 8, or once you've got your commander out and all that kind of stuff, like you're just as likely to build around like Approach the Second Sun than this. Hello again, darling. You're right. Hello, small cat. Meow. So Coalition Victory being unbanned, this will be similar to Sway the Stars. I think someone will do it against me once, and that will be fine, and they will feel like a powerful wizard, and then we'll just play another game of Magic. I think I'm more fine against this happening than Sway the Stars. Like, if someone does this against me, I don't care. Because, again, at this point, we have played a game of Magic. Like, the chances of them doing this, like, what's the earliest you can do this? Like, if you have a Wooburg commander, what is the earliest you can do this? Like, turn 6 or something like that? Like, if a game ends that early, it just means we can play more commanders. Therefore, I'm kind of fine with Coalition Victory being unbanned. I just don't think I'm going to be. I don't think I'm ever going to play against it. To be honest with you, I just don't see a world where, like, all of these cards, like, apart from, like, Gifts Ungiven is the one that I know a bunch of people, including probably myself, who will be sleeving it up. Like, I did check. I only have this artwork, which is hideous, actually. I do hate this Jace artwork. The original artwork is way nicer. But yeah, the rest of them so far, I don't think we're going to be playing against. The next one, however, I do think I know some degenerates, and this is not a bad Magic card. Next up, we have Panoptic Mirror. It is 5 generic for an artifact with imprint X. You can tap it, and you may remove an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost X from your hand from the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy an imprinted instant or sorcery card and play the copy without paying its mana cost. So, extra turns is why this was banned. Let's see what Gavin has put. I, personally, have been a Panoptic Mirror enjoyer since it was originally printed back in Darksteel. The promise of using a cool spell turn after turn is so fun. That's still true today. A value mirror is a blast. There are 2 problems with it. The first is imprinting an extra turn spell. The game is over immediately. The second is imprinting something extremely repetitive, such as a board sweeper, so that a game cannot move forward. The latter is something to be a lot less worried about in 2025. There are so many answers to artifacts in decks that even if you are under a board lock, can get you out of. The first one is well addressed by bracketing play through the restrictions on combos and lower overall density of extra turn effects. And regardless of the bracket system, many tables have a good idea of whether they enjoy infinite combos appearing in their games and if that's something they want players to do in their decks. Finally, it does take a full turn and a large mana investment, and people have several windows to respond to it. They can kill it before you untap in response to the ability, or the ability resolves and your opponent is down a card. Yeah, I like value Panoptic Mirror sounds really cool, but no one's going to do that. Like, let's be honest with this, no one's going to do that. Like, if you're putting Panoptic Mirror in your deck, you are doing extra turns, or you're doing the board wipe things. Like, the board wipe, like, to an extent, I'm kind of fine with the extra turn one, because at least, again, the game ends. That's fine. If I know someone who's going to be doing the bloody board wipe thing. Oh, it's my D&D master. He is 100% going to do the bloody board wipe. He's going to get the initiative or get the monarchy and just board wipe every turn, and we'll finally find it, and we'll eventually go through a loop of winning that way or something like that. But Panoptic Mirror is a cool card. I will give it that. Like, I think with these, like Gifts Ungiven is a good Magic card. It was banned because it was strong just by itself, and it sets up a bunch of combos. But it's a good Magic card. This will see a bunch of play. Sway of the Stars is a bad Magic card that just draws out a game. I think people will buy it because it's a gimmick, and they'll do it once and then probably realise that it's kind of a bit boring. Braids, if someone builds around this, cool, crack on. I don't... Like, what deck do you actually put it in as part of the 99? Like an Aristocrat deck, and it's a sack outlet? Like, do you want a one-time go around the board sack outlet on a 4-mana 2/2? I don't think so. We'll build Braids tomorrow, see what we can do with it. See if it's actually any good. Coalition Victory... Again, if someone does this, cool, the game has to end. You also... Yeah, the basic land is also actually tougher than I thought. Like, what 5-color deck is only relying on basics to get you to Wooburg? Oh, it's basic land type, so... It's not basic, it's basic land type. So, I guess with Triomes and Shocks. So, that is a bit easier. Hey-ho, we love that for us. Coalition Victory is fine. It ends the game. We're okay with that. Panoptic Mirror... I think could lead to the most miserable... experience, but I guess to an extent, if someone does just put a board wipe under it, you can just concede. I think that's my plan. If someone puts a board, like, if it's extra turns under it, the game just ends. Fine, the game has ended. It's a 2-card combo at that point. If it's something miserable under it, you can just concede as well. That's not the end of the world. I do value my time. And I think that's kind of my annoyance, mainly with Sway the Stars, is just, if I've come down somewhere to meet up and play Commander, I want to play Commander. I want my actions to have meaning. I don't want it to just be my time wasted, and that's kind of what Sway the Stars feels like. So of all of them, that's the only one I actively dislike. The rest of them I'm kind of all fine with. I think they're all okay. Marvellous. So let's go and see what other... so they do also talk about... that these have been being banned in either 2005 and 2009, and yeah, a lot has changed since then. They touch on Dockside, Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus, and Mana Crypt. So let's talk about those now. So they did talk about these cards, and they decided not to unban them at this time. Opinions on the Commander format panel varied. Some believed Commander is more fun without them. Others would like more time to see how Commander bracket system is adopted before doing anything here. And others felt it's too soon to do anything with these cards. I do kind of agree with that. Like, they were only banned like a year, like, not even a year ago, like 9 months ago. And I kind of can't be like, the shitstorm that came from the banning of those cards. I don't want to go back to the conversation of that. I think it's perfectly fine and valid to just keep it as it is. There were a few people who were open to doing something with Jeweled Lotus now, but that was not the majority opinion. The overwhelming majority of the panel did not want to do anything with these cards at this time. I think that's fair. Like, a bunch of the Commander panel were people who were involved around the time, not people who were at least adjacent to the people who made the decision on the last time, and the amount of shit they got was wild and disgusting. I'll be transparent and say I believe if any of these cards are ever to return, the most likely is Jeweled Lotus due to its one-shot nature, iconic feel, and the ability to help support high mana value commanders. I want to be clear here, it's not me saying that it will ever happen, but that was the one among the panel with the most traction. I know people were, before this, buying out like Jeweled Lotuses and Mana Crypt. Like, I think Mana Crypt has gone back up to the same price it was, or at least close to the same price it was before the ban. Like, it's not that far off now. Obviously, that will come down, but with these, you've kind of seen this with like Modern, when like for like a decade, whenever there was a BNR coming up, like Stoneforge Mystic would go up in price and then come down again, and Jason the Mind would go up in price and come down again. But it would never go back down to the price that it was just like immediately beforehand. It'd be like 10% more. So Mana Crypt will keep some value, I guess. Hey ho. I know many of you love these cards. Many of you are also glad that you have to play against these cards. There's always that kind of push and pull with the powerful and potentially ban-worthy cards in Commander. I appreciate there are many people in both camps, and that no matter what happens with these cards, somebody will feel like they didn't get the result they wanted. However, we want to talk about these cards and not here honestly, and what was said internally for transparency. These cards will be something I'm sure we'll talk about next year, but for this year, the book is closed on these 3 cards. So we get into the kind of the future of the BNR, and they basically said that, so we are committing to no further changes to the banned list for the rest of this year. That's nice, knowing that apart from the Nadu contingency thing, which they've said down here, is that unless a card comes in and is miserable and breaks the format and all that kind of stuff, unless a card's actually a mistake, which is fine, it can get banned. Hopefully we don't have any. Actually, no. Nadu's a sweet card for Cube, so yeah, break some more formats, people. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think this makes the most sense, just giving people... This is kind of what people... One of the main issues with the bannings of Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, that kind of stuff, was that people felt it came out of nowhere. I mean, it was at a regularly scheduled BNR announcement, but no one really paid attention to them at the time, being honest with you. Not, like, everyone kind of felt that they were cards that were coming out of nowhere. The comms, since it's gone back under Wizards and with Gavin, have generally been better. I think that's the main improvement, because like they are we know that now there's going to be no more cards banned for the rest of this year, and they also are opening up to be more regular intervals, like you do with Modern and the rest of them. Like there's like, I think it's like 4 times a year or something like that. Cards can be banned in Modern and Pioneer. People know they are coming up. If you just have it for all formats, that just makes it a bit easier. It's not just like, oh, where's our once a year Commander ban, that kind of stuff. And I think it comes down to it as well down here is, as it's also been stressed to me, Commander moves slowly. It's fine for us to take our time and let everything settle. Stability is a core tenet of Commander's philosophies. Recently, it hasn't always felt that way. Let's get back to that stability again. And to be honest, like, it does show you how much just one event can really shake up a format. And like one of the main things with this is Wizards don't want to rock the boat too much with Commander, because it is the golden goose right now. It's the thing that brings the most money in. It's the things that most people interact with. Like the fact people onboard new players with Commander is wild to me. Commander has so many moving parts. I guess with simple decks, but you can do it. But yeah, I think this is pretty fine. I'm kind of okay with this. I'll put a link to this down in the show notes if you want to go through this. It also goes through why other cards are banned. I guess my only other comments on this, like, Fast One and Commander would be sick, but I guess that is what Cube and Canadian Highlander is for. The one thing I did want to touch on is just, I do feel Biorhythm, so they do go through the rest of the cards in a bit more detail. The only one I want to touch on is Biorhythm. We discussed this card a great deal. We ultimately decided not to unban it. It can go in any green deck, requires very little setup to cast, and really disproportionately impacts the player to your right. Compared to Coalition Victory, which only gives it to 5 color decks and requires you to control 5 colors worth of permanents, it's a bit much. It could potentially come off someday, but we're leaving it on for now. This is the one where kind of like, if we're doing... Alright, thank you, Danny. If we're doing Sway the Stars, and if we're doing Coalition Victory, I think this is fine. It does just cause games to end as well, which is fine. Again, I think I'm a bit more... Like I don't feel this is as miserable as some of the other ones. Like, Emrakul just really annoying. Like Biorhythm does... does affect everyone. So the gimmick is you board wipe, somehow then have 8 mana and then do this. Love that for you. But cards like, if you compare it to cards like Emrakul, or actually this one's miserable because it counters the first spell each turn. Like, they're either good or they are miserable. Like, Iona, miserable. Leovold, miserable. Limited resources, don't actually know what this card does, but probably miserable. Lutri, good. Nardu, both good and miserable. Paradox Engine, good and miserable. Like, I know there was a talk about Primetime actually, so we will get to that in a moment. But I think just generally, like, Biorhythm is the only one that's kind of like, it feels in line with the cards they have unbanned. It feels in line with Sway the Stars and Panoptic Mirror and Coalition Victory, because these are cards that do require setup and winning the game. Like, I think the argument of like Panoptic Mirror and Biorhythm seems kind of comparable in power level, if I'm honest with you. Hold on. You can put a Biorhythm under a Panoptic Mirror. We're gaming, guys. Don't worry. So that is the only one that I could see, I think, most likely coming off. The rest of them, keep them banned. There was talk about Primetime. Again, people speccing and people investing and that kind of stuff. Spend your money how you want. I don't like to give financial advice, but Primetime was never getting unbanning, in my humble opinion. While it is loved and nostalgic, the amount this card accelerates is massive, and it can really dominate the game. Those who played back when it was legal know how often the game would revolve around Primetime, whether it died or not, cloning it or otherwise. I do think this card could potentially return and be put in Game Changers list, but this is a card extremely warping and was now not the time. Like, not just even the ramp thing, just like you can go and get your Dark Depths combo with this. I think the thing with this, it just makes decks generic. It makes decks a bit boring by having Primetime in them. It's a great card. I love Primetime. Like, I run Primetime in my cube. I run it in a bunch of different other formats. But just, it's fine not being in Commander. Like, if it said basic, it would probably be okay. Or if it said untapped, it might still be okay. But it does everything. It's 6 mana that comes in, ramps you. And at the time, when Commander was a thing, it was like, oh, who wants a 6 mana ramp spell? But in Commander, you want a 6 mana ramp spell that just does it again and again. Primetime, yeah. I don't think there's a bunch, like, before the ban list happened, people were speculating like a bunch of cards could come off. Like, same with Prophet of Krufix. I don't think this is a strong card anymore. It's more, it just kind of, it leads to just decks being like homogenization basically, and that's boring. Like, if you're a green deck, now everyone's running Primetime. And that could be the same with Biorhythm. I don't think that's as much of a case, because Biorhythm's a little bit boring. Like, I can see the argument that it can go in any green deck, but I don't think it wants to go in every green deck. Like, most green decks are creature-based decks. Or heavy green decks. Again, you can splash it in like a... Maybe you're a Grixis control deck splashing green or something like that, and you can add a Biorhythm. Cool, love that for you. But, like, Primetime is a card that, like, if you are any green adjacent deck, you now automatically run it. And yeah, I agree. It's both game warping and also deck building warping. Like it's format warping because it's cool. I love Primetime. It'd be cool. Like it would be cool if it'd be cool if we could play it in Commander. But I don't think we want to play it in Commander. If we're really honest, but I think what they should do actually is just like the same way a few years ago they just let silver bordered commanders be legal for 6 months. Just screw it. Remove the ban list for 6 months and see what happens. See how people feel about it after that. Just literally say from June 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. All cards are unbanned in Commander. Crack on with it and see what happens. You will get some very honest feedback very quickly. And you get everyone playtesting them. Like, yes, it will screw the secondary market, that kind of thing. Cards like Recurring Nightmare and Raphaelos will shoot up in price. But it'd be fun. And it gives everyone what they want for a little bit. And then we can kind of rein it back in. I don't know. Maybe unbanning everything in a format is a terrible idea and could break Commander. But hey-ho. Make it tier 5 for a couple of weeks or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, of all the other cards, I didn't think any was likely to be unbanned. I saw people mentioning Prophet of Kufrix because it's a 5-mana 2/3 that dies to everything. So let's read this. Seedbomb Muse just got promoted to the Game Changers list. Spoilers for our next half. And Prophet is that, but you also get the free reign to play your spells on everyone else's turn. It's a really powerful card and also monopolizes the time in the game. The Prophet player gets an extra turn of playing creatures for each other person over and over again, and absolutely dominating at lower power tables and still quite strong higher up. It isn't necessarily locked on the ban list forever, but now is not the time to remove it. I'd agree with that. Again, so in the way that Primeval Titan, game changing and deck building, Simic doesn't need the help. Simic famously doesn't need the help in being good in Commander with all its card draw and natural ramp. Yeah, Simic soup decks where it's just ramp and card draw are just generically pretty strong, and they don't need the ability to play for. Like I don't like this, and I don't think the artifact that does it is on the ban list either. But they're just a bit boring to play against. Like you know what the person who has them is going to be doing. They're going to be waiting until the end of the player before them's turn before they do anything. It's just a bit samey and a bit repetitive, and I don't particularly care about it. So generally, the 5 cards that are unbanned, do let us know what you think about them. My honest opinion, Gifts Ungiven is the one from a power level point of view I think is pretty pushed. It's the one I'm excited to put in decks, although I do need to pick up the better artwork, because this is dreadful. I hate the Jace art. Where's the good art? That looks much nicer. Rather than this Jace twin thing. Sway the Stars. Miserable. Don't play it against me, but I don't care if it's unbanned. Braids, cool. We'll be building this tomorrow. Make sure you like and subscribe for all that good stuff. Coalition Victory, fine, ends a game. Panoptic Mirror, fine, ends a game. Again, if someone does put a board wipe under this or something miserable, you can just concede. It's fine with games ending. But let's move over to the brackets. So this was another update yesterday that came along. It was effectively a 2-part article. So, how long has the bracket system been about? A couple of months? Basically, this is kind of like, it's still in beta. Commander Brackets, beta. It's still in beta. They haven't kind of formalized it yet, I guess is the way of putting that. So all of the cards that we've mentioned previously in the unbannings are now on the Game Changers list. They're straight on there. They don't get free range to add them to your deck if you are doing the bracket system, which I think most people are, and most people have been fine with it. From my experience with the bracket system, it hasn't greatly affected any games of Commander I have actually played. But I'm fine with it existing, because it is not meant... Because most of the games of Magic, or I think all the games of Commander I have played since the bracket system have come out have been with my playgroup or larger or extended playgroup. Either people I play regularly with or people that they play regularly with. So it's either friends or friends of friends, that kind of stuff. It is a pretty big group of people. But my general experience is that honestly, when I've played with people I don't know, and like the friends of friends and that, I think it would have actually. I think I would have had more enjoyable games if we had the conversation about the bracket system, which is probably good and is reason for it exists. This isn't as much for situations like that. It isn't as much for friends playing with friends. It's more for playing in the wild, and that's good. Like, they talk here about the initial test at MagicCon Chicago. That is kind of the perfect place for this, and kind of it's for playing in game stores. It's for playing people you don't know. That is what the bracket system is best at, because it lets you, very black and white, I'm playing this deck. One of the main things that they talk about in here is that the kind of a focus on the reasons behind going into a bracket, not optimizing for a bracket, if that makes sense. In here, he kind of mentions that intent of play. This is the most important part of the bracket system, and I do kind of agree with this, because like, I can easily, Gavin is saying this, I can easily build a deck that technically meets all the rules of core bracket 2 and play at the power level of optimized bracket 4, and I'm sure many of you can too. I think most of us who've built a number of commander decks can do that. We can build decks that play like a high-tuned deck, but just don't have, but we just swap out some of the most efficient game changers for still good Magic cards that exist. And I do agree that kind of the intent of it is the important part, and that's, I think, what we kind of like that has been lost in the shuffle a little bit. In terms of like I've definitely been guilty of, when building commander decks on like Moxfield or Architect, or like on Moxfield, just being like at the end looking at it and being like, oh, this is a bracket 3, or oh, this is a bracket 2, that kind of thing. I think from my end, I kind of build my decks effectively like a Timmy. I build them to do the thing, but well. And if we then win from that, awesome. That's generally how I build all my commander decks. And I think that's kind of a way, as a content creator, you kind of have to build your decks, because like, if someone's clicking on a video of like, oh, I want to build a Braids Cabal minion commander deck, I want to do the thing that Braids is doing, if that makes sense. Like, if I build what's a commander? I don't know why Squee Goblin, but like, if I'm building the Proliferate Atraxa deck, I want to build that deck. I kind of don't want to like that is my goal coming out of it. That's how it kind of feels with making videos on stuff anyway. It is a bit different when kind of you're making decks just from out of the blue yourself, kind of like, and just having that conversation of like, what are we doing going into it in terms of a power? Like are we trying, like, when are we trying to win? Are we trying to combo off, that kind of stuff? That's probably something from a deck building point of view. I think I might be a bit more not serious about, but I'm just consider going into it. I think maybe with deck decks we should be thinking about, like, generally speaking, most of the cards on this list are kind of cards I don't like playing anyway, so I don't often add them. Again, this article was very good. Have a read through it. Like, I think generally they're saying that the bracket system has gone pretty well. I think they said, 87% of people have said it was helpful in games. That is good. Obviously, these are people who are doing it at big, large-scale events. And like from what I've seen, that articles, and from what I've heard from people who've been, they literally had like pods of like, this is a pod 1 table, this is a bracket 2 section, this is a bracket 3 section, and that's kind of perfect. You can play. What the bracket system is good at is it lets you play the Magic that you want to play. And because it's helping you easily find people who are wanting to do a similar thing, and that's great. If it helps you play Magic and helps you have more fun playing Magic, then I think overall it can't be a bad thing. So the main thing is they're not making any changes to the bracket system at this time. It's still in beta, so they could still remove bracket 1 or add bracket 6 or whatever. That could still be a thing that gets added. But for the time being, they're keeping the bracket system the same, and they are adjusting the game changes. One of the reasons for that is, again, because people, I guess, like me, like other content creators, have done videos about the bracket system, and it could be confusing. You undo 6 months worth of education. People have just got used to it. If they're not as attuned, like, say you only interact, say you play a lot of Magic, but you don't interact with articles or with Blue Sky or social media, and you don't know that there was a change that could affect stuff. So it's out there now. I think just adding stuff. Magic players are generally used to kind of like, oh, what's the ban list? This kind of stuff. So just adding stuff to a list, I think, is kind of okay. It's definitely a good place. My gut would be if they make any changes to the brackets, they'll do it once when they take it out of beta, and then that will be it. And again, they're getting more data at MagicCon Atlanta. It would be nice if there was a MagicCon in Europe this year, but we don't get one. Marvellous. Love that. Do it at the Excel, please. It's relatively easy for me to get to. All right. So let's actually go through the game changes list and the changes. So, Trouble in Pairs and its problematic artwork have come off of the game changes list because it wasn't changing games is the gist of it, and so is Trinisphere. This is I agree. This is not a fun card to play against. No one's ever played Trinisphere against me in Commander. Actually, probably a good thing. I like my play group. Everyone's very cool. I mean, it probably goes in braids. Ooh, let's go. But, it's a stack. Like, there are other unfun cards in here. Basically, you'll know if someone's playing stacks very quickly. Hopefully before you sit down and play against them. That should be part of the conversation. And it's fine, especially at MagicCons. If someone sits down opposite you and they say, I'm playing stacks, you can say, no, I don't want to play against that, and go find another game. Perfectly fine. Your time is also important. Your time is valuable. Spend it how you want to. If people are fine playing in a game where Trinisphere exists, then cool, crack on. I think that is for me, that is kind of easier at these higher levels, and the conversation here is basically that people in lower brackets aren't putting Trinisphere in their decks. It is more optimized in CEDH. These are the people who are generally playing Trinisphere, and if you're playing a bracket 4 deck, then Trinisphere being in the deck is fine. Like if you do this in like a lower powered environment, you're a bit of a monster. But similarly to I kind of like Sway the Stars, it just drags out the game, and that's the part I don't like. But if I knew I was playing against, if I knew going into a game of Magic, I was going to have this type of experience, then fine. But if someone does go Soul Ring this on turn 2, that does kind of suck. But hey ho, it's what removal is for. My decks have got built better to interact with this kind of nonsense. All right, Game Changer Edition. So the main bit of feedback they got was that the Game Changer list wasn't long enough. So we've added a bunch of cards. So let's go through these. We have 18 cards in 15 minutes. I love that for us. And the cat. Meow, darling. Oh, of all of those, the most important thing is the cat. We love this species. Alright. So these 18 cards were added to the Game Changers list. Let's go through them now. Teferi's Protection. While ultimately a defensive spell, if you want to talk about cards that are quite definitionally game changers, this is one of them. It protects you completely, much like Cyclonic Rift. Teferi's Protection saves you from targeting while freely making big plays or attacks without risk. It is certainly a game changer. I would agree with this. This has kind of become a bit of a staple. Like, all of the cards that are on the Game Changers list are all cards that kind of like... They're just kind of the generically good cards, if that makes sense. Like, this is a generically strong white card that can go in any white X deck. I'm kind of fine with that being on Game Changers. Like, if I'm honest with you, if they just use Game Changers to add a bunch of cards that are generically good, that I don't put in decks because they're generically good, then cool. It means I don't have to worry about them, and I'm not going to be playing against them. That's actually I'm actually kind of quite here for that, if I'm honest with you. Okay, bracket 2 is my new... Oh, but I do like some of the cards. It's fine. But yeah, Teferi's Protection, I like it more than Cyclonic Rift, just because Cyclonic Rift actually resets a game a little bit more for all but one player, because you're actually putting your opponents back, but then they just rebuild anyway, and nothing really changes after a couple of turns. Teferi's Protection, just protecting you from board wipes and that kind of stuff, just as a protection spell, is pretty solid, and obviously the ability to just completely phase out, we like. It deserves to be on this list, though. I think it does. As it says, change the game. Right, what the hell does humility do? I'm going to read this one, because it's been a hot minute since I've seen this. Humility, 2, white. Each creature loses all abilities and is a 1/1. Right, okay. I have played against this. It was the chap I was worried about breaking Panoptic Mirror. Or the board wipes Panoptic Mirror. This card slows a game down to a crawl, disabling everyone's creatures and shutting down a card type that everyone else has likely built their deck around. In comparison to Trinisphere, a fair Trinisphere forces people to play some more mana. Even a fair Humility tossed onto the board will usually make games massively frustrating to play. I do agree with this. Enchantments are also generally the hardest of the permanent types, apart from lands. But like, it kind of goes creatures, artifacts and planeswalkers, then enchantments in terms of ease to interact with. Like you have creature removal in your deck. You might not have as much enchantment removal in your deck. This can turn off a large amount of strategies. The lose all abilities and creature types I care about less, but I guess they're kind of like, I know that Type All Matters decks are way more incredibly popular. So this is a card that I don't want to play against. So it's kind of nice for me, because it just be like, cool, you can go to that in your power 3 or in your power 4 or 5 thing. I'm going to chill over here. That seems quite fun. Yeah, I've played against Humility like ones of times. I'm kind of fine with it being up here. Alright, they've combined them. I love this. Narset, Parter of Veils, Orcish Bowmasters, and Notion Thief. So I'm assuming this is going to be them hitting like the Wheels deck. While punishing additional card draw, it is a reasonable thing to have in a game of Commander. These are particularly aggravating to encounter. At best, they are frustrating to play against. At worst, they combo with Wheels and do some nefarious things. So my main interaction with these has generally been in Cube. I cut Bowmasters from my Cube because it was too good. Mine's like an unpowered vintage cube, for those unaware. Cool, so Nekasar is basically guaranteed to be a bracket 3, to be a high bracketed deck then. Kind of fine. I'm kind of fine with that. It is that combination with Wheels that's why it's here. Like, I do think so. Orcish Bowmasters is the one that I could see people running as a fair card, because it just pings them. The Narset and Notion Thief actively stopping people drawing the cards. Like we already have Leovold on the ban list, and we also have Hullbreacher on the ban list. They actually stop the card draw. So we know these type of effects are impactful, and I guess because Leovold and Hullbreacher have already been banned, people are these are the next best. So people are running them in their decks, and yeah, they're going to be very strong. I think these are fine. Again, the main thing is Nekasar is now a high-tiered deck, no matter how you build it. Because, there isn't much drop-off after these. What is there? We're going Locust God. Rather than... Is this what we're doing now in our Nekasar deck? We're attacking? I love that. I love that for us. I've had this one stray hair going up here the whole bloody video, and it's kind of annoying me. Alright. Intuition. I'm not surprised this has got added. And it's definitely a pattern you will see as we get down later in the list. Intuition is a very strong tutor, giving you 1 card and dumping 2 cards into the graveyard. While it's not always the exact card of the 3 you want, with redundancy, you're usually getting something strong, and it also stocks your graveyard in the process. Combine that with the fact that this can be a 1-card combo in the right deck, that brings it up to game changer status. I do agree with that. This is a very strong card. I think the main thing is I've never bothered buying one because it's like £100 now. The period of me picking one of these up went and passed. And there's a bunch of graveyard decks I would add this in, but it's just from a cost point of view, I've never bothered. The fact it's that expensive because it is that good, and also the reserve list, obviously. Love that for us. Yeah, what we're going to see is just generally impactful tutors are what we are adding to the game changer list. And I think that's fine, because they fall under the generically good category. These 3, not generically good, but they're here from a power level point of view when you combine them with Wheels. The rest of things are just generically good, or under humanity's case, generically annoying. Intuition, generically good. Sphinx now. So interesting. Another card, sort of. I can sort of consider this like if you're adding this, like I don't think people are adding Consecrated Sphinx to a deck if you're not doing the wheel thing. It's kind of like a backup one of these. Like this is the next tier down where it's like, okay, fine, your opponent can draw their 7 cards, but I'm going to draw. Hold on. If you have 14, 28, 42, is that? My math is dreadful. Like you're drawing a bunch of cards from it. But let's read it. This is a must-kill threat in most commander tables. Untapping with a Sphinx and 6 or more cards you've drawn by the time it gets back to you on your turn puts you dramatically ahead. Additionally, the gameplay of other players cloning it and then allowing them to draw as many cards as they want is not the best gameplay, and it fits right in the game changer list. I would agree. It is 6 mana, though, and dies to a stiff breeze. Like, I'm fine with this. I guess the kind of, if the mentality of it is that... So there is a world where I'm a little bit lost in terms of my deck building, because I like building strong synergistic decks, but that don't necessarily run these cards. That don't run as many of kind of like these game-changery cards anyway. So that does kind of put me in a bit of a weird position, because like I like building good decks, but they don't have to have these cards in them. So kind of like Sphinx is a card that I think is personally fine, because I know when I play Commander I could probably kill this. It dies to everything. But I can see how it can take over games, and like the game changer list is not hard and fast. Like, I don't think they've said if they're going to make any changes this for the rest of the year, but if they do it after, like again, my gut would be we're not going to have any game changer updates until they fix the bracket. So at least the next line of 3 to 6 months, I guess, whenever Atlanta happens. But Gunner Sphinx is a fine card. It is a strong card, and I don't think it's out of place being on this list, but I'm not overly fussed. Like, if this came off, fine. If it stays on it, also fine. I think it's good, but I don't think it's as broken as, say, like Necropotence. If someone puts Sphinx in their deck, they might just be wanting to draw some cards. You are not doing anything fair if you put Necropotence in your deck. Though it does cost triple black to cast, once down, the ability to turn as much of your 40-point life total into cards as you want is extremely powerful. This has been one of the most requested additions, and we're happy to add it to the list. Yeah, no. I cannot argue that this is not an extremely broken Magic card. I've generally added it to decks that want you to pay life. Like there's a bunch of decks that want to faff around with life totals. There's even some. There's the Abzan Commander in this set that kind of rewards you for the amount of life you've lost in a turn. It puts counters on things, or no, counters on things for life gained, and then I think you bring something back for life lost, that kind of thing. But Necropotence, just generally, like Necropotence is a card that it's almost ban-worthy in Commander because of that 40-point life total. Like it's on that cusp of just like no one's doing a fair thing with a Necropotence. Like it's almost bannable, so therefore it being on the game changers list of anywhere makes the most sense. I think we're fine with that. Deflecting SWAT. Strong free counter magic made the list previously, and this often does the job of free counter magic and more. It deserves a spot on the list. So this is one of the ones that made for Commander, the whole cycle. They made a whole cycle of these made for Commander cards. The blue one, is on the list, and this makes sense. This is effectively a counterspell most of the time for any target removal, and it's just free. You add it to your red decks, or red X decks. It's fine. Gamble, Crop Rotation, and Worldly Tutor. The lower brackets do carry the restriction of few tutors already. However, 1-mana tutors can search up a wide array of cards for some of the most efficient out there. And like Imperial Seal, Mystical Tutor, and others, these are in line with that. While we may be revising the notes around tutoring on brackets in the future, but for the time being, we want to get these 3 large swingers onto the list. So this kind of what I was alluding to earlier, that it is like efficient tutors. They are effectively saying are high tier decks, or are for high tier decks. And I think that's fine. Again, what tutors do is they just really give your deck that added level of consistency. Because rather than putting in a second version of an effect. You are putting in a card that can go and get either a dedicated card, so Corporation can go and get like your Broken Lands, it can go and get your Dark Dex combo, or if you're running it, your Gaia's Cradle. But yeah, it's just that level of flexibility. It can get you that bit you need at that exact moment, and they're cheap and efficient. Like, so we're never going to see like what's the 4-mana demonic tutor. It's not demonic intent or something like that. We're never going to see that on the game changer list because it's 4 mana. These are 1 mana, and this is something that I think they will tighten up. I could see these coming off in the future, basically because currently the bracket system says a few. I know, meow, right? Says a few tutors. I could see them actually codifying that, like meow, like tier, like bracket 2, 1 tutor, bracket 3. 3 tutors, that kind of stuff. Like, actually codify it. But until they do that, this is what they're doing. And I think that's fine. Seedborn Muse. This card causes you to take what is essentially, when built properly, 3 additional turns worth of effects out each turn cycle. It also causes the player to take a proportionate amount of time in the game. I would agree with that. Seedborn Muse, very good with decks that run a lot of instants, and very good with cards and decks with flash. Like, you're not using this to give your creatures vigilance. You're using this to untap your lands and your mana dorks on your opponent's turn, so you can cast spells on their turns that are either instants or flash, or activate abilities like cycling decks, that kind of stuff. Very cool card, but very strong. Like, Seedborn Muse, for as long as I've been playing Commander, has just been a good card. It always does things. It always shows up. Seedborn Muse, yeah, deserves to be. The effect deserves to be on this list. It is a 5-mana 2/4. We are getting to a world pretty soon where this will just die way quickly. But it is a card you need to answer, and the table needs to answer. Otherwise, this opponent, yeah, if they get a whole land cycle out of this, or sorry, a whole turn cycle out of this, get to dump their hand and get some card advantage, then they are so far ahead of everyone else. Alright, we have a few more to go through. Natural Order. This is one of the strongest ways you can cheat out big creatures early. Natural Order cheats mana and acts as an efficient tutor all in one. I would agree. Games just end with this and Crate Hoof. I think Hoof's been added to the list, actually, which makes sense. Green already has advantages in Commander that other colours don't have. It has the ramp baked into its strategies, so it just generally has advantage. And then just turning one of your mana dorks into a win con is one of the things that Green has always done. It's very strong, and is probably too strong for lower power level environments, so I think Natural Order doing on this is good. Food Chain, no notes. You are not adding Food Chain to a deck unless you're trying to do Food Chain combos with it. People tend not to play fairly with Food Chain. Yes, I agree. No one is fair food chaining. And if you are, I think you can have a conversation of just be like, this is a tier 1 deck, but I have a food chain in it. Are you okay with that? That's part of the point. These brackets are more a jumping off point for these conversations rather than hard and fast rules. So if you're the one person out there with a fair food chain deck, firstly, send me the list, and secondly, you'll be okay, but this is fine. No one's doing fair food chain. It's kind of like a Luren. Aura Shards, just repeatable ways of blowing up artifacts on Charmers. This has been a card that, from the moment I started playing Magic, has just been a very strong card in those decks, and while it's very good, it's not creatures. This can just destroy games of Magic, and especially here I care less about the build around cards, and it's just the mana rocks. Like, if you're not in green, you are running mana rocks, and Aura Shards just wrecks it. Like, it's one of the things where, like, yes, to begin with in a game of Commander, you're like, oh, I'll destroy your synergy piece or like your sack outlet. But then later in the game, once you've already removed those, it's like, well, fine, I'll blow up your mana rock. Fine, I'll blow up your talisman. I'll blow up your soul ring. It's like, but just because it's efficient and does it every time, it's so repeatable. Is this another card made for Commander? I don't know, but if it is, it's kind of showing a bit of a pattern. Field of the Dead is also on the list. I think that's fair. It's not as good as it was in like Standard at the time, but it is a bit free to just add. Like to an extent, any kind of 3+ color deck I have considered adding this. I just don't own spares. I have one. It's in my cube. This is on the generic type of thing. And then, yeah, workshop. Though not highly played due to difficulty to acquire, yeah, no shit. It's like a couple of grand. A land that taps for 3 mana for artifact definitely meets some of the restrictions we put around fast mana and belongs on the game changers list. Yeah. Magician's Workshop is a messed up magic card. If it's its price now, when the ban list or when the commander ban list was first introduced, this would be banned. This would just be on the same list like as with power. Like one of the reasons power is on this is because of like difficulty to acquire and that kind of stuff, and workshop falls under that. I don't think you'd get as many people complaining because I don't think people aren't buying workshops to play in commander, are they? That would be wild. I mean, it will definitely happen. I have played against a workshop in commander in a very fancy deck, but yeah, but. This is I've only played this in cube, and yes, I agree. 3 mana on turn 1, 4 mana if you play your Soul Ring as well. Busted. So they do touch on here. Yeah, I'll put all these links in the description below. That they are talking about specifically. They're not adding right now legendary creatures. So things like Korvold, Edgar, Dragon, Joda, and Atraxa. These are not being added because they are effectively people's favourite commanders, and it effectively can tear off those decks. Cards like Turgid, Grand Arbiter, Yuriko, and Urza are on the list already, really just from a power level point of view, and I think that makes sense. Like, Yuriko, as much as I love it, Yuriko is a design mistake. Command Ninjutsu is not fair. Like, it needs to have... You need to be able to pay... You need command attacks, realistically, to make this card fair. That's not why people play it. They play it because it's broken. But, like, these ones... Like, people can build budget versions of these decks. Like, I'm currently building a Joda but as my SpongeBob deck. And it's not going to be fantastic because I'm only using Universes Beyond cards. But, like, there is a world where just generally, because these are so efficient, they could just be tier 3. They could be considered game changers. But for the time being, I think, like, I agree with them. They need to be careful when adding commanders because it can just turn off people's... People can still play the decks, but not in the environments that they want. Like, if you have, like, it effectively means that kind of, if you have a budget Korvold deck, or just you have Edgar, like, somehow, or like, you open an Edgar and you just jammed in all the vampires you control. You haven't constructed it to be super powerful. It will still be strong because it's an Edgar deck, but, like, people see your commander before you play the game. That's a bit different to some of the, these are cards you can put in your deck. And the point, the point of these is that without having to list them all off, you know where to sit at, like a Magicon, that kind of thing. Whereas with commanders, because it's face up, you can like reveal it, and you can have a conversation of like, it's a starting point. Like it's easy to have that conversation because it's face up. You can reveal what your commander is, and you can talk about it. It's pretty straightforward. So I think for the time being, not adding these to the list, I think is great. Maybe there will be it adds a bit of needless complexity to it, but maybe a tier list for commanders, which is a separate thing. My guess is not actually just because they want to keep it pretty straight. So there are a bunch of cards that they talked about that weren't added. These are effectively the watch list for game changers. Again, I would be fine. Generally, all these cards are just the generically strong magic cards that people play. That kind of like you just see in a bunch of decks. The main thing that I would be fine with is if these are the cards that kind of like these are the generically good cards. If sorry, I didn't get this far down next time, or I didn't get this far down when I was looking at it earlier. If these cards were to get added to the Game Changers list, I don't think it would be the end of the world. You can still play with them, but it just means that there's a bit more deck variety, and that's kind of like I own a Mana Drain. I've not put Mana Drain in a commander deck in like a decade at this point. Same with Force of Will. I actually own 3 Force of Wills. My wife has all 3 of them in her Legacy deck, but I don't feel the need to put it in commander decks. Everyone's playgroups are different, and if you want to push yourself, But your deck building then crack on if you just want to ramp up the important cards. We're kind of... Yeah, we're definitely coming to an end now. I think generally this is all positive, would be my gut. I'm kind of on board with everything that they've done. I'm interested... Like, despite the fact I've not played with the brackets as much, there have definitely been times where I have played in the wild where I think from a game play and enjoyment point of view would have been improved by us having a conversation and actually doing something with the brackets. I think the bigger thing for me is most of the decks I have are not in Mox Field, so I haven't done the check to see what bracket they are. But with this as well, the intent is something I think I will need to look at and consider more in the future. That's going to do it for today. Thank you all very much for watching. I know we ran over a little bit there. Lovely to have a bunch of people in. We'll be back tomorrow. We are going to be building braids tomorrow. Let's see how broken this 4-mana 2/2 with no abilities apart from make your opponent sack their lands. That could be good. Is going to be. But yeah, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, if you're thinking of buying any of these cards, I should mention we do have a TCG player affiliate link. Would greatly help out the channel, all that good stuff. But until tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.